In 2013, 55 African leaders came together to sign on a 50-year plan for Africa's future, and most educated Africans and people in the diaspora have never heard of it. If you think you know Africa, its wealth, its future, and its politics, but you've never heard of the Agenda 2063, then this video is for you. Because by the end of the video, you'll know exactly what that plan is. You'll know exactly how you fit in that plan. So the African Union has a 50-year plan, but nobody outside of government offices know about it. Compared to the Chinese Belt and Road Plan, the EU's Recovery Fund, which are on their media every day, the Agenda 2063 is rarely talked about. And this gap in knowledge is not random, it's media failure. And this channel exists to fix it. And so I remember in 2008, when I was in high school, we would often hear Ghana always requesting foreign aid on the news from foreign countries, from foreign organizations. And we would often wonder among ourselves, because we could see it for ourselves. We had the resources. We had the cocoa, we had the gold. And there was also a recent discovery of oil in Ghana at that time. So we wondered, like, with all these resources, why are we still always asking for aid? Why can't we see these resources being used in our land, or see the benefit of it at least? And I didn't find an answer to these questions that we had. Not through my college, till I came across this document during a recent barbecue with friends. So I remember we raised this exact point. And that's when one of my friends mentioned the Agenda 2063. Trust me, I was surprised. This was the first time I've heard of this document. And when I looked into the document myself, I was really shocked at what I was seeing. So I just couldn't wait to talk more about this plan, talk more about what is happening and being built in Africa right now, and get people's opinion about this, because I think, for one, I am very excited at what I'm seeing happening right now. So what is the Agenda 2063? It's not a document made by the IMF. It's not a document made by the World Bank or by any foreign donor. This is Africa's own plan. The Agenda 2063 was signed at the African Union's 50th birthday. It was held in Addis Ababa in May 2013. This document contained 7 main goals, or aspirations that they called it. It has 20 targets, and it has 10-year action plans. And currently, Africa is in the second of this 10-year action plan, which started in 2024 and goes till 2023. It has 7 big goals that they called aspirations that I think we should talk about. First of all, a rich Africa. That is an Africa that is thriving economically. A united Africa. That is an Africa that operates as one. And the central core of which would be Pan-Africanism. An Africa of good governance. Because how can you have any development without any good governance? An Africa of peace. Because nothing drives away investment and growth like instability. A shared African identity, which includes our appreciation for our cultures and the appreciation of our unique identities also. An Africa where people have a say. It's not just government control, but people actually have a say in how things are done. And lastly, a strong Africa on the world stage. An Africa that works as a global partner and not just a charity case. And these big goals are connected to real projects that are already on their way. The AfCFTA, for example, that is the African Continental Free Trade Area. The African Continental Free Trade Area is estimated to reach a GDP of over $3 trillion by 2050. So the AfCFTA was formed by 54 of the 55 African countries, and it's estimated to reach a GDP of over $3 trillion. And his goal is to make Africa one of the top 10 economies in the world by 2063. Included as part of this AfCFTA is also the PAPSS, which is the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System. So this system exists to make trading among African countries much easier. Instead of a Ghanaian vendor buying an item from a Kenyan citizen in US dollars, they actually buy it in the Kenyan shillings, but they make the payment in Ghana cedis, and it goes through this PAPSS system, which makes the currency conversion using the competitive exchange rates across Africa, rather than depending on the US dollars. When fully implemented, it's estimated to save Africa about $5 billion US dollars annually on transaction costs alone. Other big rail projects include the African Passports, which is a program infrastructure development for Africa. Also African space programs. Yeah, you heard that right. African space programs. And a plan to end all wars across the continent. So why does this series exist? The African Union called the Diaspora Africa's safe region, meaning they expect the diaspora to participate in Africa's growth, in Africa's building, not just observe. But most people in the diaspora have not heard about this plan. And I'm sure a few might have heard of the plan, but they never opened the document because it's a 305-page document full of government language. Of course, I don't blame you if you don't want to go through the whole document. But we're going to make sure to summarize some of the very important targets and some of the very important goals in there that I think we should all be aware of, especially if you are in the diaspora. Because as we know, the diaspora, African diaspora, is very well enriched. We have people with the skills, the network, and the investment funding to contribute to this plan. But most of them have never heard of the plan. So how can they participate in something they don't know about? Because thinking about it, a plan like this should have been very, very popularized among the diaspora. It should have been the conversation at every barbecue, at every gathering. But it was never talked about. And I think the media actually failed us on this. But I don't think it's too late. I think the plan is in motion. Lacking in some areas, but progressing very well in others. And the more we know about it, the more we know how to contribute to it, the better we'll be. So these are some of the topics we'll talk about in the subsequent episodes. So first of all, we'll talk about the AfCFTA, Africa's $3.4 trillion bet. We'll talk about Africa's industrialization problem, what is being done, and what is needed. We'll talk about the governance, the coups, and the corruption. We will not sugarcoat it. We will then talk about Africa's safe region, and that is you if you're in the diaspora watching us right now. We'll also talk about Africa's youth, an advantage or a catastrophe if not managed well. You'll find out in that episode. We'll also look at the real infrastructure gaps, which still plagues many areas and regions in Africa. We'll talk about the agricultural and the food import trap that has plagued the continent for decades, what is being done now, and what is to come. We'll talk about the health crisis and the vaccine dependency of the continent. We will then go back and review the receipts of what is being done currently on the Agenda 2063 goals, where it's faulting, where it's excelling, and where it needs more of your support. It will also serve as a research guide for the diasporas that are looking to invest, to build, to push for change, or to move back home. And no, this is not going to be a school lesson. This is going to be a research guide for people in the diaspora that are interested in investment, in building, and pushing for change back home in Africa. We'll talk about some of the gaps in the plan and what you can do about it. So each episode will be built on the episode before it. And if you stop watching now, you won't see the full picture. And let me know down in the comments below. Before today, had you heard of the Agenda 2063? What did you know about it? Have you heard of it? Looked it up? Never heard of it at all? Or knew more details of it? Let me know in the comments. I'm curious to see how many people are just finding out about this document. In the next episode, we'll talk about the AFCFTA, Africa's $3.4 trillion bet. It might be the biggest economic story you've never heard of. Stay tuned.